everyone still remembers that new 2D game from Mob Entertainment, which is most likely going to be called Hoppy Play Park. Right now, we've got some small updates about this game. Specifically, the story will take place in the Playtime co-park we've known about for a while. It's also confirmed that the game will be a 2D pixel-style platformer. The events are set around the 1990s, and Hoppy Play Park is expected to drop before Chapter 5 comes out. We also know that Huggy won't be the main antagonist. Many compare his role to something similar to what we saw with Yarnaby in Chapter 4. There have also been some updates about the Hoppy Playtime movie. Unfortunately, after 4 years of waiting, we still haven't gotten anything, and most likely we won't even see a teaser trailer until around 2027. Do you even remember that the Hoppy Playtime movie was supposed to exist? We've also seen a few renders of different Chapter 4 cover concepts on Steam, and of course, the release of Hoppy Play Park will most likely mark the end of Project Playtime as a whole. Besides that, there are a few more really interesting things we gotta talk about related to Chapter 5, and maybe even beyond. Based on what we've seen in the previous chapters, there's no doubt we're in for some fresh characters. Just want to say right away, despite some theories about Huggy maybe being a good guy or whatever, I'm more than sure he's gonna be on the prototype side and probably won't play a huge role in the new chapter. But we'll get into that in detail a bit later. I've already seen a bunch of theories about who's gonna show up in Chapter 5, and honestly, some of them just make me want to laugh. Some people seriously think that little chick from the Bunzo Bunny comic could be Poe, and just cause they showed him once, that means he's gotta be in Chapter 5? Come on! That theory makes me want to laugh and cry at the same time. And don't even get me started on the Nightmare Critters. They weren't even supposed to be part of the story originally. They were just thrown in to fill gaps. And yeah, their so-called leader, Baba Chops, was a total letdown. But somehow, the almighty and terrifying Poe is supposed to wipe us out in Chapter 5? Okay. Fan favorite Braun also popped up in theories about Chapter 5. But Isaac already said they kept trying to add him, and it never worked out. Then he mentioned that since they couldn't fit Braun into the story properly, they at least made that VHS tape you're looking at right now. So yeah, no Braun in Chapter 5. And as for Pianosaurus making a comeback, that's a whole different joke. Just look at this response. It's pretty clear. Like the Nightmare Critters, Pianosaurus was never canon. So thinking about his return is just wishful thinking at best. Alright, looks like we've dealt with all the nonsense. So now we can move on to the more interesting possibilities. Y'all remember that mysterious hat they've been teasing for ages, right? By now, it's no secret that all those hints were leading up to one of the best characters in Hoppy Playtime history, Doughy the Dough Man. And honestly, one of the concept designs even came kinda close to his actual look. But aside from all those hats, we once saw a weird image with some kind of silhouette hidden in it. Before the gameplay trailer dropped, we were sure those hats and that clown were pointing to a specific character, but now everything's changed, and this mysterious clown might actually be one of the new monsters. We know for sure it's not Doughy, so who the hell is this clown? If you follow fan-made content, you've probably seen a dude named Lulu the Clown, and I gotta admit, he caught my attention. Now, obviously, we're not going to see him exactly as he appears in fan concepts, but something similar could definitely show up in Chapter 5. We all know how much Mob Entertainment loves their Easter eggs and hidden references. That being said, I don't think he's going to follow Doughy's story arc. I seriously doubt they'll give us another friendly character who turns on us in the end. But hey, there's always a twist, and I actually have a really interesting theory about that, which I'll get into in just a minute. But before that, let's talk about one of the smiling critters. I came across a theory online about their return, and honestly, it kinda got my attention. I'll say right away, the chances are small, but they're still there. Everyone remembers that critter, Hoppy Hopscotch, right?
Wanna try hopping to the moon with me? On three with me. 1, 2, 3! Heh, didn't get very far, did we? Jump! Jump!
And back then, there were already tons of suspicions that Hoppy was still alive, and that her desperate scream wasn't because of the prototype attacking or anything like that, but simply because she jumped way too high. The following distortions also hint at this. Plus, one of the VHS tapes once again teases Hoppy.
Thanks, Joey. Sorry we lost the supplies. It won't happen again.
The important thing is you're both okay. Aside from that bite, that is.
But let's be real, this theory has the right to exist, even though it seems pretty unlikely. What do you guys think about it? And of course, in Chapter 4, something happened that many had already suspected since Chapter 3. Ollie actually turned out to be the prototype. Ollie had been helping us for a long time, and we seriously considered him an ally. But in the final scene of Chapter 4, the moment many had been waiting for finally happened, while others were genuinely shocked by this plot twist.
Shelf ventilation block B6. Is this where you are, Poppy?
What?
Stay where you are.
And listen closely. You're not going to run. You're not going to fight. The charade is over.
Who is this?
An obvious question with an obvious answer.
That good old buddy Ollie? Yeah. Turns out he never actually talked to us. Dude's probably been dead for a while now, and the prototype just straight up jacked his voice. Wild, right? I mean, Ollie always seemed like this chill, helpful guy, but in the end, he kind of betrayed us. Well, sorta. So, if we lost someone like him, wouldn't it make total sense for Chapter 5 to throw in another Ollie-type character? Hopefully this time, not just the prototype in disguise. And that's where the clown comes in. Why not, right? What if he takes Ollie's place? We meet him at the start, he helps us out, seems all friendly, and then, boom, he backstabs us and hands us over to the prototype at the worst possible moment. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Now, the theory that Chapter 5 is going to be the grand finale is gaining more and more traction. And if that's the case, it's pretty much guaranteed we're finally going to face the prototype. Not much to say about him. Everyone's already convinced he's showing up, whether this is the last chapter or not. Huggy, though, that's where things get interesting. We know he's one of the prototype's minions, and it totally looks like he's going to be a villain in Chapter 5. But what if there's another side to this? We all know Kissy, and the fact that she's on our side is as obvious as needing water to survive. And if we go back to Sleep Well, we see shots of Huggy and Kissy together. They're actually really close friends. So some folks think Kissy might be able to change Huggy's mind and turn him into our ally. Personally, I don't buy it. Here's how I think it's gonna go down. Huggy shows up, door behind us opens, we manage to escape, running, and then poof, Huggy's gone. Later, we run into someone who looks like Lulu. We play through the game. Lulu betrays us. We finally meet the prototype. He disappears. Then Huggy pops up again. We take him down. And, of course, we get one final showdown with the prototype. And there you go. Quick recap of the characters we just talked about. Chapter 3 was the first time we got introduced to the smiling critters, and out of 8 of them, we only really know the full story of 2. So the big question is, what really happened to the rest of the smiling critters, since not all of them actually showed any clear signs of being dead? There's still a chance they made it, at least until we get proof that says otherwise. We're also going to dive into how Catnap became the catalyst for the Bigger Bodies initiative among the smiling critters and who suffered the most because of it. And could they actually come back in Chapter 5? We already know exactly what went down with Catnap. And yeah, there's a slim chance he could return, but I'm almost 100% sure there won't be some kind of epic comeback. Now, Dog Day, that's a whole different story. We all saw what happened. He got swarmed by a bunch of tiny toys that completely took over his mind. and yeah, we never actually saw him die. But after what went down, the odds of him breaking free from the mini critter's control and surviving, pretty damn low. But what he said before it all went down really got me thinking.
Come to save us. Nothing left to save. Not here. Lord Catnap's home, Angel. Their home. A myriad pairs of eyes are on you now. Watching, waiting, hungry. They want nothing more than to crawl beneath your skin and eat away at you bit by little bit. Fill what feels empty inside themselves. That thing. Catnap. The prototype is his god, and this is what he does to heretics. These little toys follow Catnap to avoid that very fate, and in return, they are fed. We try to fight it, the prototype's control. I am the last of the smiling critters. Listen to me. You need to get out of this place.
Dog Day straight up said we were there to save them. And since he 100% knew what Catnap really was, and no one else was shown to us, it's making me more and more sure he was talking about the rest of his crew. Now yeah, you could argue that he meant the ones fighting against the prototype. I mean, he did say he was the last of the smiling critters, but at the same time, there's a chance he just doesn't know what actually happened to the others and just assumes he's the last one left. And just to be clear, we're only talking about the Bigger Bodies initiative. Those tiny versions, nobody really cares about them. So I think it makes sense to start with the most relevant smiling critter right now, Hoppy Hopscotch. Hoppy's easily the most energetic one in the group. And honestly, that wild energy is probably what got fans thinking about how she might have died in the first place.
I'm Hoppy Hopscotch! Wanna try hopping to the moon with me? On three with me! 1, 2, 3! Heh, didn't get very far, did we? Again! 1, 2, 3! Nope, still didn't make it. Again! Again! Jump! Jump!
But let's be real, most people noticed we never actually heard any attack sounds or anything like that. They straight up told us that Hoppy loves jumping and ain't scared of heights. So that scream and all that audio distortion at the end, probably just her jumping way too high. But things got way more interesting after Chapter 4 dropped. Cause in Doughy the Doman's story, we actually heard Hoppy on one of the VHS tapes.
I need some help here! Hey, watch the door! Watch the door!
Right here. On the menu.
There you go, bud. You're okay. Okay! Look at me! I'm a mess!
Hoppy, what's going on?
We were trying to bring supplies back up to the elevator, but we got jumped. Had to turn all the way back around. They took everything we had, right after one of them picked my leg! So, what do we do now?
For starters, you two stay here tonight. Let things settle down outside. I'll find more food for you to bring up to play care. When you're ready.
Thanks, Doughy. Sorry we lost the supplies. It won't happen again.
Now we know that Hoppy was in safe haven and was kinda like a food scout, but at some point something attacked them and injured her partner. Most people are pretty sure it was Prototype. After that, one of the notes straight up said that Hoppy went missing, and this is where things get real interesting. Just because she disappeared doesn't mean she's dead. If we go back to what Dog Day said, yeah, he called himself the last one, but now we can see that last doesn't necessarily mean the only survivor. It's pretty hard to say exactly what happened to Hoppy, but for some reason, I'm pretty damn sure Prototype had something to do with it. And even if she's still alive, she's probably stuck in his labs, the same ones we're heading to in Chapter 5. Now let's talk about the rest of them. I think the best way to go about this is to start with the most obvious ones and slowly turn up the heat. Kickin' Chicken was basically the cool guy of the group, always trying to break out of Playcare. But now, let's take a listen to what he had to say.
It's looking pretty bad outside. I've never been outside before. Will you come with me? I'm scared. Here, follow me. I'll step out first.
I don't think this even needs much explaining. It's pretty damn obvious. Kickin' Chicken tried to pull off his plan, but someone took him out. And for some reason, most fans agree that the killer was Catnap. Bubba Bubba Fant was the smartest of the critters, and everything about his description backs that up. If he was really that smart, his chances of survival should have been way higher. But if you actually listen to his cardboard...
I'm Bubba Bubbaphant. Hey, I remember you. An elephant always remembers. Want to know what I remember about you?
Then it's pretty damn clear this guy didn't make it. I mean, y'all probably figured that out already since I've been talking about him in the past tense. And now, it's time to talk about one of the most interesting smiling critters. Trust me, her story's gonna blow your mind. Bobby Bear Hug. Aside from telling y'all that she was the sweetest and most compassionate of the bunch, we're also gonna take a listen to her cardboard.
Hi, I'm Bobby Bear Hug. Want to know how much I love you? I love you to the moon and back. I'm crazy about you. I'm lost without you. I've been lost a long time. Please, take me with you this time. You won't leave me, will you?
And this is the first time we don't hear anything suspicious. Yeah, Bobby is clearly scared of everything going on and doesn't want to be left alone, but there are no screams or disturbing noises on the audio recording. That alone kind of hints that she might still be alive. But that's just the beginning. At some point, we got a description of Experiment 1186, aka Bobby Bear Hug. That's when we found out that Bobby was the first of the smiling critters to go through these kinds of experiments and was actually one of the earliest subjects of the Bigger Bodies initiative. Several hours after awakening, she tried to stand and walk to the other side of the cell but couldn't keep her balance. She looks to be searching for help, continuing to spasm. She's trying to scream, but she has no voice. She's silent. I'm not sure if she knows she's not making any sound. Work will need to be done to perfect the bigger body formula we began with Boxy. Each iteration improves on the former. However, if we're to meet the goals of Dr. Sawyer and produce bigger body subjects that we can integrate into a factory setting, then more work will need to be done. As it stands, Bobby will require further experimentation. If we're to create subject 1188 according to schematics, then each of these smiling critters will prove a good testing ground for ironing out these issues. And judging by what we see in the photo, Bobby really did struggle to support her massive body at first. Since all these experiments were leading up to the creation of Experiment 1188, aka Catnap, it's pretty safe to say that every experiment before him was just a stepping stone in the search for the perfect formula. And considering Bobby was the first of them, it's fair to say that she suffered the most because of Catnap, even if not directly. Taking all of this into account, plus the fact that her cardboard recording doesn't have anything suspicious, there's a real possibility that Bobby just went into hiding somewhere in the factory, waiting to be saved. We can't say for sure that she's still alive, cause in her condition and probably without food, she wouldn't have lasted this long. But hey, there's still a chance, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see her in Chapter 5. Let's not forget about the always hungry Picky Piggy.
Let's eat. Roast beef, delicious. Grilled chicken, down the hatch. hungry. Hey, what do you say you and I be friends?
This lady never fails to surprise me. But again, we don't hear any suspicious sounds. A lot of people know that pigs are omnivores, and Mob Entertainment really nailed that with Picky Piggy. She's down to eat literally anything, including us, and since she's always hungry, we can guess that going without food would be a real struggle for her. Thinking back to what Doey said about, well, the food situation being non-existent, Picky Piggy's chances of survival drop big time. But since we didn't hear anything bad at the end of her recording, it's totally possible she's still alive, just really weak. And that means there's a solid chance we'll run into her in Chapter 5. Now let's quickly talk about Crafty Corn.
I'm Crafty Corn. Can you help me with my painting? Pass me the blue, please. Thanks. Now, can you give me some red? More red, please. Out? But we can't be out. You're hiding more red from me. I know you are. Give it here! Now that's much better.
We hear static, but then the words keep going, which once again suggests that Hoppy didn't die during that recording. But what really surprised me about Crafty Corn is her insane obsession with red. And yeah, I think it's pretty obvious she's talking about that red gas, the one that basically puts you in a trance. I'm more than sure she's still alive, and honestly, our chances of running into her are some of the highest. The real question is, will she actually be useful to us? Considering her obsession with the red gas, I kinda doubt it. Maybe she'll drop some interesting lore bits, but that's probably it. Lately, a theory's been gaining traction that the real Ollie is gonna show up in Chapter 5. And let me say right away, I totally believe in this one. I even broke down all the possible scenarios in one of my previous videos. But now, let's talk about the others. Lately, I've been hearing a lot of talk about how Chapter 5 won't be the last, and that we'll see at least a Chapter 6. All because Zach supposedly said so. I get it. No one wants this story to end, but I have several 100% solid proofs that after Chapter 5, we won't see anything else. First, don't blindly trust Zach and take everything he says at face value. Given the way he worded it, I'm fully convinced he was just messing around to spark debate and hype up the future of Poppy Playtime. Let's go over the facts, and for that, we'll look at Chapter 4. Let's make a deal. If I can convince you that Chapter 5 will be the finale, drop a comment saying you agree. And if you disagree, tell me why in the comments. It all started with Poppy mentioning the Hour of Joy in Chapter 3, the root of all the horrors that unfolded at Playtime Co. Then, in our conversation with her, she revealed that the prototype's home is in the laboratories. After that, we got those strange statements from Dr. Harley Sawyer, the chilling VHS tape where Poppy spilled major secrets, the long-awaited full conversation with the prototype, Poppy's escape, and finally, Huggy's return, along with the certainty that the main setting of the new chapter will be that very lab, the prototype's domain. I think it's obvious to everyone that the prototype is our ultimate antagonist in Poppy Playtime. And considering everything we've discussed, our encounter with him is now inevitable, especially since they've been hinting at his grand reveal ever since Chapter 2. Come on! And after all this, you still think there could be anything after Chapter 5? To me, that would be complete nonsense, because the entire main storyline can be perfectly wrapped up in Chapter 5. And that's without even getting into Huggy, who definitely didn't return for no reason. Now, we can finally say with confidence, Chapter 5 has to conclude the story of Poppy Playtime, which means it's time to talk about who we might see again. I don't think anyone will be shocked if I say Huggy Wuggy. All right, we'll get to Huggy and his potentially major role later. But for now, let's talk about everyone else. Drop your own ratings for how likely each character is to return in the comments. But keep in mind, this is the final chapter, and everything will revolve around the prototype. the first so-called victim of the prototype? None other than Mommy Longlegs.
What have you done? You make me part of you! You can't do this to me!
What stood out to me the most were her words about not wanting to be a part of him. Judging by what's left of Mommy, it would be foolish to claim she'll return in Chapter 5 in the classic form we're used to seeing her. But let's not forget that Playtime's labs are home to mind-bending technologies. And now that the prototype is in charge, all their developments are literally in his head. That means, while it's small, there's still a chance that Mommy Longlegs might come back. She could appear as Mommy 2.0 or more likely as part of the prototype's body. But as the original Mommy Longlegs, we definitely won't see her in that form. Still, I'd love to see that pink beauty again. Aside from Mommy, there's another missing piece in the prototype's puzzle, Catnap, the circumstances of his death or maybe his survival, which still haunt me to this day. Take note of how this so-called incident unfolded. At first glance, it seems like the prototype's claw pierced Catnap's head completely. And it looks pretty obvious, but this is mob entertainment we're talking about. They're capable of anything, as we saw with Huggy. But take a closer look. Now, once more, the prototype's claw hits precisely the center of Catnap's mouth. And despite the blood, you can clearly see that no vital organ, specifically the brain or the arteries carrying blood from the neck, has been damaged. This makes it quite possible that Catnap survived, and as a result, his return in Chapter 5 is very likely. I know this might sound crazy, but you remember we're dealing with the prototype and his labs. And if we're talking about Catnap, we can't ignore his complete opposite, Dog Day. This guy was one of the most intriguing characters in Chapter 3, and thanks to him, we learned a lot of new things.
Come to save us. Nothing left to save. Not here. Lord Catnap's home, Angel. Their home. A myriad pairs of eyes are on you now. Watching, waiting, hungry. They want nothing more than to crawl beneath your skin and eat away at you bit by little bit. Fill what feels empty inside themselves. That thing, Catnap, the prototype is his god, and this is what he does to heretics. We try to fight it, the prototype's control. I am the last of the smiling critters.
I think everyone felt a little something in their heart at this moment. But if we put emotions aside and think logically, Dog Day is alive. His body was simply taken over by the mini critters. And if we remember the final scene with him, I didn't notice anything that suggested a fatal outcome for him. We easily escaped from him and shut the door right in his face, interrupting his chase. But he's still alive, and you probably can't argue with that. Unlike Miss Delight, who definitely won't be coming back, at least because we split her body into 2 parts. And honestly, she isn't important to the prototype like Mommy Longlegs for him to waste time and energy resurrecting her. I'm pretty sure we'll encounter Dog Day again as an episodic monster trying to catch us, but we know that this time he'll probably meet the same fate as Miss Delight. And since we're talking about smiling critters, it would be a crime not to mention Hoppy Hopscotch, who first appeared to us in Chapter 3.
On 3 with me. 1, 2, 3! Heh, didn't get very far, did we? A Again! 1, 2, 3! Nope. Still didn't make it. Listen, this won't stop until we make it to the moon. 1, 2... No, no! Don't look at your feet! None of that matters! Again! Again! Jump! Jump!
Hey, what really got me hooked was that we don't hear any screams like we do with Bubba or Kickin'. But the devs decided to spice things up and keep us intrigued by showing a little snippet of her life in Safe Haven.
I need some help here! Hey, watch the door! Watch the door!
Right here.
There you go, bud. You're okay. Okay! Look at me! I'm a mess!
Hoppy? What's going on?
We were trying to bring supplies back up to the elevator, but we got jumped. Had to turn all the way back around. So, what do we do now?
For starters, you two stay here tonight. Let things settle down outside. I'll find more food for you to bring up to play care. When you're ready.
Thanks, Joey. Sorry we lost the supplies. It won't happen again.
And it seems like nothing, just a small reference to an old character, and I'd agree with you if it wasn't for that damn note on the wall, where we find out that Hoppy disappeared and they can't find her. That's the real reason she's not in Safe Haven, and what's really interesting is that we haven't seen any solid proof of her death. So these references make you think that she might be, let's say, captured by the prototype in those very labs, and the chances of meeting her in Chapter 5 are pretty high. You can't just assume she was killed by Catnap or anyone else, cause no one, except the devs, knows for sure. And if you're curious whether any other smiling critters have a chance of coming back, after you're done with this video, check this one out, because I dive deep into all the fates of the smiling critters and their chances of returning with all the latest info. As for Chapter 4, honestly, I don't even want to talk about it. Yarnaby is a real idiot, and there's no point in expecting his return. Sawyer already did his part of the deal with the prototype, and honestly, all he probably wanted was to die, which we helped him with. Nightmare critters are just a joke that shouldn't have even existed in the first place, but then there's Pianosaurus. This 30 Seconds hero also wasn't even supposed to show up in Chapter 4, and devs just threw him in as a filler for the gameplay. But lately, a lot of fans have been pushing this theory that there are actually multiple Pianosauruses, and in Chapter 5, we might either see a second one, or, if you believe the whole musical band theory, maybe another member of his group. To me, that sounds like total nonsense, and I don't even want to waste time on it. But hey, let me know what you think in the comments.